Welcome everyone, Dr. Thor here. Well, as a follow-up on the so-called toxic chi generator made by the Satanist Karl Hans Welz and his cohorts, to follow up on that, we've already found out how toxic that machine was in general, even before turning it on. And of course, after when we showed the actual guts of it and turned it on, it actually produced more toxic energies. That can be viewed at Patreon as further details even on the so-called Orgonite will be as well. So this is the Orgonite. Now we showed this briefly, but I decided to go in there and remove this and then try and cut it up to see if there's anything particular inside of it. And I'm going to do more of this. And the follow-up on this is kind of part one. Part two will be on Patreon for those who are really serious and want to support subtle energy research in general. Now, from what I can tell, I looked at this with and of course, this is where the majority of the negativity is coming from. You can see that this immediately starts to... when we start to check here the actual energies, it immediately starts to go on. I have to concentrate for a minute here. And you can see how it immediately goes to counterclockwise. And, I looked in here to see if I could find something of any kind of nature of exactly if there's anything else in here. You look at the Orgone that's online, of course, the one thing that is kind of interesting in here is the fact that they have these kind of, looks like it's a chamber. I'm going to have to cut these out more. You can see that the wires that go from here into the circuit, or vice versa, I'm not sure how that was doing it in terms of what was behind their demented minds. These could be chambers. There's a number and so forth on here. I have to look at this more, but you can see these are little kind of chambers. They could be capacitors. It's hard to say. Let's see this one. Here's one you get a little better look at. And let's get some more light here. So it looks like that may actually unscrew. They may have put something in here, some sort of demonic energy or whatever it is they put in there of a negative nature. And this, of course, went together like this. And the tube, that little tube that comes out of his unit was on either sides of it and had wires, again, that go to these particular energies here. But there was nothing touching. I don't think there was anything touching the tube itself. It was resting between these two items here. But, I mean, when you look at Orgone online, they have stones, they have copper cables and so forth of other things in there. Of course, this is deliberately done in black so that you can't see what's in there, so they can pretty much do whatever they want. But that's a good way of tricking people. People don't want you to know what's in their units because of the fact that there really isn't anything, or they're afraid of whatever's going to happen. I mean, you as a buyer should know what's in unit. I mean, everybody has their proprietary blends, how they do things a little different. Certainly Radionic Tech does with our special sigils, etc. But we don't hide anything in terms of what wiring is in our units. And while we don't recommend people go and open up some of our units because you may break something, we do show you pictures. We're not hiding anything. What really makes these units work is what we're doing to the subatomic level functioning of these units. And of course, that takes great education instead of making a goop of stuff here, which puts out negative energy. So it also appears that if we look at this here, and again, I'm going to start peeling a lot of this stuff off, and Patreon All Access members will be able to see these at a better way, but it appears that the wires are kind of going in here. And again, that's they're capturing the energy. So these are probably some sort of condensing little tube or something. As I said, it's hard to say whether this is actual capacitor or something. There's just too much on it. And of course, it is difficult to get all this goop off of it. And this is what a lot of people do to hide their actual what is in there. In their units, etc., because they don't want people to copy it. And to a certain extent, that's understandable. But when units, of course, do this kind of nonsense, you run into all sorts of problems. Let's see if I can pry that up a little with a knife here. But as I said, I'm going to go further into that. But in terms of the grossness of what's going on here, see what else here. It almost looks like there's some sort of... Okay, now we're getting more detailed information of what this is. And let's take a look at that. It seems to be taped there and wrapped on there. I guess we should expect something as simple as that. Really what's there is some sort of... It looks like they've wrapped these little tubes in copper wire, like there's something miraculous about all that. I mean, that's all old tech stuff. Yeah, use copper. And of course, Orgone is not electromagnetic in nature, so using electromagnetic stuff like this just shows you how mentally goofy the understanding of this stuff is. And that goes with, unfortunately, with most radionic people. They don't understand the energy. So how are they going to make machines that are anything more than psychic crutches? So let's see if that goes further. Yeah, it doesn't seem like they're a tube at all. It looks like all they've done is put a little, I don't know what you would call this, a nail or whatever. They've wrapped copper wire around it. It then goes to this wire, and then there's one over here that does the same. And we'll open that up and look better at it. Where is that now? Here. And they have wrapped that with, I thought that was a black coating. It's not. It's just black electrical tape that they've wrapped around this. And that's what that is. And of course, you've got wires going in here that then go to the circuit, etc. But there certainly isn't any kind of, there are no stones, there are no little pyramids, whatever the crap, these idiots that put BBs and everything else there. I mean, Wilhelm Reich said not to use copper in general. But there certainly isn't any of that grossly put in there. If you see what people call Orgone and what they're doing, that's what they do. And they tell you to put these different stones, like, putting a handful of stones is going to do anything in general. I mean, these are all little amplifications, little energies that come in, but they don't really do all that much in very direct. What they do is an indirect way by empowering what you're doing. So you have these that are on each side of that little pipe, which basically is the cheapest you can get. It's just a metal pipe. It's neither brass nor copper nor anything else. It's just stainless steel from what I can see. That costs pennies for that kind of things you buy at hobby shops. And of course, this is what apparently is part of the actual Orgonite. This is Orgonite, and we should understand that is. This is made an invention of a particular person with his understanding. It has absolutely nothing to do with Orgone, otherwise understand as orgasm energy by Wilhelm Reich, who discovered it and learned how to harness this kind of atmospheric and bioenergy. It kind of confuses who put it all together. To say you're condensing orgasm energies is kind of ridiculous, because that pretty much comes from humans, obviously, or mammals if we want to expand things. But you can see what was in here and how they've wrapped this copper around this. This then goes to the wire, and that's really all it is. I don't think there's anything in here. They may have put some sort of powders I heard he used to put in white gold, those powdered golds that was in here. And there could be other powdered things in there. It really doesn't look like that, and certainly not of a lot of it. When I look at this under a microscope, a magnifying glass, and I will look at it under a microscope later, you don't see any really large amounts of sandy type surfaces or anything else. This just seems to be a minor mixture, and this seems to be pretty much just plastic goo, which is the toxic aspects of particularly orgonite and so forth. So this is his invention. This is what he thinks powers his circuits. And of course, it's all complete nonsense. That doesn't do anything. And of course, we know by the inventor who died very young, and so did his wife and most people he knew and most users of this junk. But this puts out horrible, horrible toxic energies. Certainly understandable. I mean, Welz is known for translating satanic books and other things. And of course, his organization is loaded with that. The people who run the organization now are self-admitted Satanists and liars, deceitful, and I allege they're all connected to organized crime. So as we particularly understand that, we can see here, well, what is the kind of energy? So this isn't just a little spin. As you hold this over here, we get a very toxic negative energy. Not really surprising. And as we've seen, it's amazing how this is so common within these tools. But there may be something in the recipes that people copied, like the other two machines I showed. One didn't have anything in it but flashing light machine. I mean, it really didn't do anything, but it looked pretty. And it used symbols, etc., which are interesting. But again, this is still pretty low level. And to kind of make a jokey little light machine that does nothing is kind of just that. It's jokey and worthless. The other person that we showed in opening it in Patreon, which was filled with orgonite powder, again, was using some sort of toxic stuff. And you can guarantee that if Welz gave you a formula and told you how to do something, he was connecting you to demonic energies. We could call his practices devilonics. And this is the core of devilonics. And it's continued by a large group of people who are just negative pieces of garbage and will continue. And the problem is the unsuspecting public ultimately has a problem because they get stuck with this stuff. They don't really know. That their sites don't announce that, at least not directly. And of course, there's a lot of people covering up for him. And of course, these people who have been very hostile to me thanks to their evil thinking and being cohorts with Welz, whether directly or indirectly, is pretty sad. And of course, they've been contacted by organized crime and other people who have bought them all. That's how it works, people. And that's, of course, how this organization that made this crap was successful. Certainly not from the junk that he produced. But this is the same old nonsense that we can look at. And this is the only thing in here that we can find. I doubt if there's anything else in here. I'm going to cut this up as well to see if there's something else in there. Hacksaw through it. But I frankly doubt that. And there may be some sort of demonic powder in there or something of a very negative reality in there that is mixed in with the black resin. But in general, you're not seeing any of those stones, those BBs, the wires, all the other things that you generally see in what is considered modern orgone, little pyramids and other things, which of course is joke technology done by jokey people who basically can just get a bunch of plastic toxic resin, which is poisonous and will make you extremely ill if you breathe it in. These idiots want to be on the side of Orgone so they can make money, and they don't really care. They don't have any credibility, anything. None of them are studied. None of them have taken courses. None of them know what's going on as a general, bigger understanding of the field, etc. And nobody's really interested in that. They jumped on this stuff, and one of the game was to release what this orgonite was in a formula and how you can make it. Well, that was all part of the game. But it appears that those formulas were not used by him. Those were sucker formulas, built-in satanic contact was made in that, so people can actually be possessed by it and they can use your energies. It's really sad. But this is what the infamous Orgone is all about. The rest of his electronics are just moronic junk. These are very cheaply made little machines that are not radionic in nature at all. They don't have in plates. They don't have out plates. They're not symbolically made. None of that is going on there. And this seems to be how they're accumulating through copper to send energy into the main unit, or from the main unit to send in here, because you were supposed to put something in front of those little phallic symbols that he put on there and so forth. But remember, people, it's always buyer beware. Don't be a sucker. Don't believe what people are telling you. Don't think they have good intentions at all. They want to pick your pockets. They don't give a damn what they give you. And a lot of people come along ripping off the rip-offs, and they produce really bad stuff because of the fake success that this organization had, which is really backed from what has been alleged by everyone, and even people involved in this industry, including a well-known organized crime person who is in bed with all these people, who had all their buddies. They're in bed with all the publishers. They're in bed with everyone. And these are known criminals running street gangs. This is the kind of people that you're dealing with here. And when you give your money to these people, that's what you're supporting. And if you think somehow that this kind of crap, toxic technology is going to help you and you don't care whether you just sold your soul to the devil, well, you're a sucker, because it doesn't help anybody. This technology has done nothing. And certainly to the inventor and his family, it has done absolutely nothing. Someone who claims huge empowering health effects that then dies at below the average, and way below the average that his wife died. Not to mention, all you have to do is see pictures of him before his death, and he was overweight and looking quite ill, and he's been having that happen for years before his death. And of course, now it's been taken over by more scumbuckets, and that's the way it goes. But in terms of just looking at the technology, that's what there's nothing here. This is nothing but goop. There may be some sort of powders put in there, and how are they picking up energy? Well, they're the same moronic way that these people do. Here you have a non-electric energy called Orgone or chi or whatever you want to call it, and they're trying to pick it up and amplify it through copper wires. I mean, they really never got it, and people don't get it today as they continue to not understand the science. And until people understand the science of these things, they're never going to have good tools out there. And it's amusing that people who just do things of a concentrative nature, using a few little mind tricks, have been able to project energies and actually do some amazing things with this kind of energy to actually assist people out of deadly illnesses and in general assisting their life. So if you want to see more on this, and we will remove this thing from here and we'll be cutting this up further, make sure you support me on Patreon, join All Access, and make sure you get the first-hand look at all the amazing technologies that I have developed. And also, as we go through and look at all the machines that have been out there for many years. We're going to be going through the SE5 next, and people can actually see what that's all about. I don't think people have seen stuff this close. Certainly nobody that I know of, I don't know if anyone has in general, has gotten this kind of Orgonite and cut it apart here and found out what's in it. So, but as I said, it certainly doesn't have all the things that have been recommended or many people do. The cohorts, Don Croft and his group of people who are putting all sorts of stones and other things, doesn't look anything like this at all. And it's hard to believe that they didn't know that they were working with a really evil person. But, you know, when you're filling your pockets with lots of money. But, you know, Don Croft was pushed ahead because the jig was up with Welz. And Welz was being found out more and more every day of his satanic reality and the fact that he was dying. So all of this comes into the reality of of what's going on out there. And like everything in the world, buyer beware. You can't go out and just grab something, go by somebody else's opinion. You have to educate yourself. And if you're going to invest in something or going to use something, well, know what's going on and don't believe what it says on the box. Find out for yourself and find out if these people are credible. And of course, they'll lie to you. And they're not going to tell you that they're Satanists directly. Some do. They even sit at a table and do YouTube videos next to a well-known Satanists or deal with people of the lowest moral caliber. And they don't hide the fact of any of that. So that's, again, you have to look at, are you going to just ignore that because you think you're going to get something out of it and you're going to deal with the devil and get a payback from it? Well, I think you are pretty naive if you think that that's how things work out there, because it just doesn't. So know your technology, use it to empower your life, and work with good people that know what they're doing, trying to assist you and trying to get to the bottom of the ultimate reality. But, I'm in the development stage. I know exactly what has to be done, and we're doing that now as we completely redo all of our products, put some really exciting, powerful new tools out. Nothing out there even comes close to the empowerment of radionic tech. So if you need anything, of course, all you have to do is go to our website and you'll see what's going on there. But this should be very educational for people that think there's something mysterious or that those things you see as Orgone on many different places is like what the so-called inventor. The inventor lied and cheated you like he did from day one and has continued to do up to his death. It's just the way it is. But he's not the only one. They're all out there, and you're being used and abused. And a lot of people have paid the ultimate for being ignorant and supporting bad people. Until next time.